So ever since I've been putting these sort of fast picking videos online, I've had similar questions, and they're all based around this thumb, third, second, first pattern, which is really quite complex to get right. And the question is a variation along the lines of, do I really need to use this picking pattern? Can I use a different one? Can I use a simpler one and achieve similar results? Now, my answer's always been the same. It's that there's nothing magical about this picking pattern. There's nothing magical about this particular finger sequence. It's just a finger sequence that I've used to achieve the results that I've got. So that's why I'm demonstrating it. It's also based on the classical guitar tremolo technique, so it's got a bit of a pedigree behind it as well. You know, it's not just me using it, it's something that's dated back a good few hundred years. But beyond that, I would expect that pretty much any sort of regular picking pattern would be enough to achieve the results that you may want to achieve. And so what I thought this week I'd do is see if I can put some real concrete numbers against what I can achieve with this, and see if I can try and demonstrate the kinds of headrooms, the kinds of speeds that you can achieve. And I do that with a metronome. So what I'm going to do is set up a metronome next to me, start playing against that, start demonstrating what I can achieve today, and hopefully show you what kinds of things that you can achieve as well. So what I thought I'd do is I'd start with a descending fours line, just because it's a real world line. It involves both hands. It's a pattern that's pretty common out there as well, so it'll give you some kind of a yardstick to measure things against. So let's start here. Okay, so hopefully you can see I'm set up at 85 beats a minute, and I'm going to play 8 notes a click. So that felt okay, felt reasonably comfortable. Let's push it up a bit. Around 90, let's say. Okay, this is starting to push me a little bit. Hopefully you can hear that's starting to run away a little bit. So around about that, let's say that's about my upper threshold for this kind of a line. Okay, so hopefully you can see I was getting around 85, 90 beats a minute playing 8 notes a click. It's by no means the fastest I've heard on YouTube for a line like that, but for me it's a good speed. It's a speed that I find useful. I don't feel like I need any more headroom than that. If you can achieve that kind of speed, then great. So what about the tremolo? Let's look at the tremolo in detail and see what I can achieve just by playing one note over and over. Okay, so hopefully you can see I'm set up to 100 beats a minute this time. We're just going to work on the tremolo in isolation, and what I'm going to do is start by playing my thumb on a different string to the other 3 notes, just so you've got something that you can hear, and then I'll move on to a proper tremolo. So hopefully you can hear 100 beats a minute seems achievable. Let's push it a bit further. 105, let's say. So 105 again I can make. Let's push a bit further. 110. And that feels like it's starting to drift away from me now. So here you can see I'm getting around 105, 110 beats a minute when I'm playing tremolo, and then things start to run away with me. But basically, if you can achieve that 90 beats a minute, then you've got the speed that you need in order to play real world lines. And the 105, 110 gives me some headroom, if you like. So I know that my picking speed is not the limiting factor when I'm playing real-world lines, and that's really the point for me. The limiting factor is going to be elsewhere. It's going to be left-hand work, or it's going to be synchronization between the left hand and right hand. It's going to be the complexity of the line. It's not a fundamental limit of the picking technique. So let's try a simpler technique. One of the common ones people ask about is thumb middle index, so a 3-finger line instead of a 4-finger line. Let's try that. Okay, so this time I'm going to play a 3-note pattern, which is thumb, second, first. And just like before, I'll offset my thumb just so you can hear the rhythm of the pattern against the metronome a little bit easier. So I can achieve that as well. This is a pattern that I don't practice at all, by the way. But let's move on. 105. Pretty much like the full tremolo, really. On 110. And it's running away from me again. So playing 3 notes a pattern is pretty much like playing 4 notes a pattern for me personally anyway. Okay, so hopefully you can see I'm getting around the same speed when I'm playing a 3-finger pattern as I am when I'm playing a 4-finger pattern. And the feeling for me is about the same. It doesn't feel any harder to play the 4-finger pattern versus the 3-finger pattern, which is why I've stuck with the 4-finger pattern. But the other point to be aware of is that I feel I've got some headroom. I feel if I worked on this, I'd be able to push this further. And I know if I could push this to, say, 120 beats a minute, which is not far away from 110, I'd have enough headroom to play that original line, that original 90 beats a minute lead line that was playing. So it feels like playing 3 notes a pattern has about enough headroom to be able to play the kinds of lines that I can play anyway. Now, I know going back in time, when I think about what I achieved when I was younger, when I was really pushing this, the fastest I was getting my tremolo and the fastest I was getting lead lines was about 144 beats a minute, playing 8 notes a click. And so you should be able to achieve, it stands to reason, you should be able to achieve 144 beats a minute playing 3 notes a click. So let's see if we can look at what the theoretical upper limit is for a technique like this. Okay, so I've set it up to 144. In terms of a tremolo, this is a speed way beyond the speed I can achieve these days. But if I just focus on one finger, if I just focus on my thumb movement, for example, it's this kind of speed. So, if you like, physiologically, I'm still capable of achieving this, even if I can't hit the full tremolo. And actually, there's a bit of headroom there as well, so push it up to 154, for example. That's about the limit to what I can play just playing with my thumb. So as you can see, I was just playing the line with my thumb only, just because when you're playing around the cycle, that's about the speed that your thumb has to move to achieve 144, 155 beats a minute. And you can see I was getting 144 and 155 was starting to run away from me. But again, if I really worked on this, it feels like that's certainly achievable. Obviously, that's very much a theoretical upper limit. I've never achieved 155, but just to give you something to work with. So really what I was trying to show you here is that you should be able to use other picking patterns. There's a headroom there between the kinds of practical speeds that I achieve when I'm playing real lines versus the speeds that I can achieve when I'm just focusing on the tremolo, the extra headroom, if you like. And there's enough headroom with various techniques to be able to achieve that 90 beats a minute. Playing with just 3 fingers, it feels like it's perfectly possible as well. So it's kind of up to you to decide whether you want to push for that extra 4 notes a beat that I'm doing today, or whether you want to stick with 3 notes a beat. They both feel like it's possible to achieve the kinds of lead lines that I play today, whether you use one technique over another. And that's really what I wanted to show in this video. So anyway, I hope that was useful for you, and we'll chat next time. Goodbye.